Hi, my name is Vikram Malik, and I've had a great stay at the Gateway Hotel in Vizag. Now, overall, the stay has been pretty good, and in fact, maybe I should use the word fantastic. But there were a couple of issues which I wanted to kind of put across as constructive feedback. There's nothing very bad about these things, just that, few things which can probably make the experience a whole lot better. So I'll start with point number one. I'll just pull out this drawer, and you can see that the eat-in menu is here. So the Gateway Hotel eat-in. Now I just feel that this menu should actually be kept outside. Now during my stay in this room, I was not very sure that is there some sort of room service available for food, whether I could order in food or not. And you can actually check out this video wherein I've kind of prepared a detailed tour of the room so that anybody checking into the same room or a similar room in this hotel will get a good idea of what lies in store in front of them. But this is something which I felt that this menu can actually be kept outside. And what I suggest is that, right next to the bed, you have this coffee table book here. Why don't you keep the menu here? If you keep the menu here, I know, up front that yes, there is the option to order food in, which is, of course, generally the case. But when you don't see the menu, you start to wonder that perhaps, that is not quite the case. So that's my suggestion number one, that probably you can keep the menu outside. Number two, there are some things which kind of stood out. These are minor things, but nonetheless, if you see these scratches on the walls, if you see these marks, I'm not sure, and there are plenty of them. If there were few, I could have, ignored, but there are plenty of them all around. There are marks here, there's a mark here. This is room 108, and you can see a detailed preview of the room on this video. You can see the preview link on screen. Here you can see a lot of these marks. This is something a little unacceptable by the high standards that the Taj Group generally has for itself. So that's number two. Number three, I'll just go back to where I was. I'll just put this in. Now, right next to that, the other drawer, there's this other, the drawer on the right side has this DVD player. Now, once again, I didn't quite know at all, And anyway, I came here to the Taj Gateway Vizag for a wedding, and there were these DVDs being circulated, and so if I knew, we could have, all have actually kind of played this out. We could have had that much more of a gala time. So this is something, again, what you can do is the DVD player I can see that it is affixed here. It's not something which you can move. That is good. You don't want people walking away with this. So what you can do is, why don't you just label things here? You can have a DVD player inside, sort of a label here. And again, going back to the previous point about the dine-in or the order-in menu, if you really want to retain the menu position here, you can have a label here that, there's the dine-in option and the fact that the menu is inside, and you can just pull out this drawer and order in whatever food that you want. So that's one, primary suggestion, that why don't you specify the fact that there is a DVD player and the fact that one can easily use it. Simply, just pull out this drawer and you have the DVD player there. My next feedback would be the fact that, this is, as I understand, this is supposed to be a business hotel, and internet access forms a primary part of, any business hotel. Now, as I've understood so far, I have not clarified in particular at the reception, but as I understand, it is available, but at a cost. Now, because of the nature of my work, where internet access is mandatory, as well as the fact that I travel extensively, I have this kind of USB internet device, so that irrespective of where I go, I in fact had your Tata Photon similar device. But then what I've seen is that the billing post the data usage limit is crossed is so high, whereas this, what I've found, is essentially like a prepaid thing, and speed is also very good. I've just recently started using this Idea 3G net setter. So far I'm quite happy with this. So, a related feedback to another of your products would be the fact that maybe your billing, etc., the charges can be a little on the lower side or maybe significantly on the lower side. And after all, for me, that was the reason why I made the shift to a rival company's product. So that's, and specific to the internet, my feedback would be that why don't you have some sort of a label here that, internet access available, this is the, price, and these are the formalities. And because typically that is how I've seen things in these hotels. The way it works is that there is a very clear labeling that, okay, internet access is available, this is the procedure whereby you'll access it, whether there's a cost element, whether there is no cost element, those things, everything would be very clear and very specific. So I would appreciate and I would suggest that you have some sort of, labeling, some sort of mention there upfront that the fact that internet access is available at a certain cost, and this is the procedure whereby you can access it. Next feedback, this is something somewhat surprising. Now I checked in on a November and today is still November 3rd. Now in the calendar here is still October, so I guess attention to detail as far as the housekeeping staff is concerned is slightly missing. These are small things, but they need to be taken care of. So just make sure that housekeeping staff is looking into these things a little more closely. Okay, so I'll go on to the next point that I have. Now this is something which is not directly in your control per se, but if you can see the mess around here, this is, I would feel I'm not a very callous person. I use my fingers, hands very carefully, but the way the packaging is, so this is one of your product. This is obviously not a Tata product. This is not in your direct control, but the way the product seems to be designed, no matter how carefully you try and open it up, it invariably spills. So this is something which, as far as your suppliers Nestle is concerned, probably they need to look into it. The fact that they should design the product a little more carefully, wherein once you tear up this milk powder package, you're able to get it outside into your cup without so much of spillage. And look at the amount of spillage that has happened. It's pretty much white all around. So that's another feedback of mine. Yes, not directly related to your product, but to one of the products of your suppliers. My next feedback, I'll come to the toilet here. I just felt, these are two things which I felt, and these are the last, two little feedback or suggestions which I have. Now, we Indians typically, after whatever slang you want to use, we've pooped or we've taken a dump or we've, to use a very, very slang term, we've shat. Typically, we kind of tend to clean up with, not just toilet paper. So we have a tendency, or we feel more comfortable doing it the wet way. I understand probably you don't want the entire floor to be wet, but as you see, even without that, I don't know if you can see, but the floor is still wet. And that's because the way this shower panel is designed. If I've taken a nice bath, which I have just now, as soon as when I'm trying to come out, water spills from here, water spills down. So therefore, it anyway gets wet. So my suggestion is that ideally you should have like a hand shower, what is called, or a hand washer. You should have one installed here, so that after we've done our thing, so to say, we're able to clean up, the wet way instead of the dry one. So, that's one feedback. And my last feedback is with regard to toilet paper. I really felt that for some strange reason, for a rather inexpensive item, I noticed extreme stinginess, because when I checked in, I saw that the toilet paper roll had very little toilet paper on it, even though it was a new one. And then when I'd finished using it, when I asked for a replacement, even the replacement had very, very little toilet paper on it. It seems as though every new toilet paper roll which is fitted in has very little toilet paper on it. And there was an additional one kept here. That also you can see that there's not much of it left. So what I suggest is that you need to go be a little more generous with your toilet paper. It's anyway an extremely inexpensive item. So this is not something which you should be stingy about, so to say. And especially when it comes to Westerners, they use it a lot. They use a lot of it. So, altogether it does make a difference if you don't have adequate toilet paper. So this is pretty much my last feedback, and please take all of this as, very constructive feedback, because I'm telling you my overall experience staying in this place. This was the first time I came to Vizag, was very positive. I really like this room in its entirety. The overall amenities, everything was very good. You can, like I mentioned before, you can check out this preview video which I took, and which I generally take, which I feel proves to be very useful to all future visitors, because they get a first hand idea of things, the way things are, they get a very good idea. Oh yeah, and one other feedback which I had. Now you can see this flat screen TV in front of me. Typically when it's on, you have the Taj Safaris. Let me just switch it on and show you. Typically what I've seen is that there's the Taj Safaris promotion which is going on. Yeah, once again it's the same thing. Now what I suggest is that if you can have like a channel listing, and what all channels are available, what all one can see, if you can kind of mention that here, it won't be a bad idea. Why don't you just paste it here that okay, all of these channels are available, you can enjoy all of these channels here, or you can watch this. You can probably, if there's some sort of video on demand, you can watch that as well. So what all is available, if you specify that's great. I don't need to kind of navigate through all the channels, then see what is available. So that would pretty much be my final feedback. And overall, once again, I would say it was a great experience. In particular, I would say what stood out for me was the buffet breakfast, which was excellent, absolutely excellent. It was so good, and the service there was so good. I specifically recall a gentleman, I think his name was Roy. Yes, he was Roy. He was in charge of the buffet breakfast restaurant, and very good service. All the other staff at the breakfast counter, the center, was very proactive and very high quality, and they made sure that all my needs were kind of taken care of very well. And once I stepped out of the buffet breakfast area onto that huge veranda sort of a portion, that was, the view of the sea was so good from there. So overall I would again repeat that everything was very positive, but these little few suggestions which I've made, the feedback that I've given, I'm sure you can take it into consideration and improve the overall experience considerably. Cheers.